what I'm going to do now is just IPA all the surfaces just to take the little bit of dust off and degrease them. Prior to this, all of the exposed metalwork was given a light scotch just to basically take the surface off it. For some reason, I've lost the footage. It's worth pointing this out because I feel that keying the surface, even lightly, is definitely required for a decent carpet bonding. All there is to do next is cut the length of carpet from there to here, which is where our shower wall starts. Yeah, from this line to this edge, so it covers under the shower wall and then up to the B-pillar trim. Okay, I'm going to carpet from there to the corner. I've cut the carpet and marked the top, so we got the nap the same way. I'm just going to pin this to this side of the wall so that I can spray it mostly up. It's not that big a piece that it's going to become unmanageable. So first things first, I'm just going to get a coat of spray. Didn't follow my own rules. Normally pick the end off. That's the back of the carpet covered in glue. I'm going to basically cover all of the metalwork in glue. That is probably somewhat of a waste of glue, but it is what it is. I can't be bothered to mess around trying to measure where it's going to be glued and where it isn't. So it just gets done that way. On this side, I'm trying to mask about an inch over the edge here, just to give us a neat line that's behind the B-pillar. Right, carpet's completely glued, the wall is totally glued up to there, so it's really just the case now of flipping the carpet round and sticking it on, and then we'll just trim it all out with a blade to match the openings. So all I'm doing at the moment is I'm just lining that up by just gently tucking it in. With the carpet and the glue, once you've pressed it, it's not coming off. But if it's just lightly touched in place, it'll hold itself there without falling off. And it's generally okay. So I'm gonna just make sure that I'm covering all my marks, which I am. And I'm going to lay it over there. The difficulty that I've got in this opening, I'm going to try, I don't really want to stretch it all the way in there. I could just stretch it. I could put it across those two beams and then stretch that in. But to be honest with you, it's going to go very thin here, and I don't want to put tension on it because I'm going to be putting a panel in there, which I don't want to pull out later. So what I'm going to try and do is wrap it in without any... I'm going to try and go in here without any stretch. So that's now lifting this up. I've got to be a little bit careful of the length because I've probably pushed it a bit higher than I needed to. I'm going to get... Oh, a spanner will be okay. A really good tool for running a line in is a biggish ring spanner. If you rub quite hard on the carpet, you won't get a carpet burn with it. So you could rub that in there and get a decent edge. If you did that with plastic or something, then it would tend to put a burn mark. So we're just going to gently sort of push this in here around this edge. I'm getting a crease here. You probably can't see it, but because I'm right near the edge, I'll just tease that out. So I'll carry on going down this edge here like this. So I'm making sure, I'm not really worried about this edge. I'm just doing the innermost area. So now I'm just going to go flat across the window area. The only bits of this carpet that you're going to see later on is going to be this edge and this edge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just I'm hoping the camera picks this up, but basically there's some horrific creases here because if I left the carpet go across this area straight down and then stretched it in, none of these creases would be here because this would be flat across there and then we would stretch it in there. However, stretching it in isn't always the answer. It's generally the wrong way to do it. So what you want to try and do is then tease out the creases. If this was a big panel going that way, we probably would not be able to do this. Because I'm near the edge, then as long as I haven't glued this bit down, what I can do is just lift that there and then stretch that around. If you're stretching over a convex curve, then if you're stretching over a convex curve, the carpet's not going to pull off as it retains its sort of original position. If you stretch it into a concave curve, all it's going to do eventually is lift out of the curve. So we make sure it's stuck here and then we stretch it around here to get rid of the crease. So stick there and then stretch around there. Crease is gone. And then here, the crease disappears then. So that gets rid of that crease, but I've got no fear of that. I've got no fear of that lifting here or in there. I'm just going to go over that quite hard with the edge of that spanner. Make sure that's glued down. And then I'm just going to use the flat spanner surface there and just push it across to this edge. As long as you keep it off the furthest edge and just keep sort of gluing it as you go, you're okay. This flat trim tool works really well for taking sort of creases out on a flat surface. So you just lift here, push, and I'm just pushing it into the next crease. So that has gone into the next crease. Then we're going to do the same as we did here. We're just going to go over the next ridge, but we're going to keep it off there. So I'm just going to push in behind myself there. I've got a little crease developing there, so if I pull it around and then just feed it in there, we're now at the point where here where the actual B-pillar trim is actually going to start covering it. So now I'm just going to stick this around these ridges. This bit I am going to stretch because it's of no consequence and it'll end up behind my overhead cupboards. You see what I mean? That there are limits to the stretch of this carpet, and if you just keep trying to stretch it in there, it just turns to shit after a while. So don't believe it can stretch everywhere. By far and away the best thing for cutting the carpet when it's sort of in positions like this, you know, is these disposable razor blades, safety razor blades, whatever they call them. They don't last long. I've used one and I've just cut that out and that out, but you can feel when they start blunting up. But you know, a packet of 100 is probably only about 10 quid, so if you chuck them away rather than letting the carpet get all sort of catchy and pulling on you, you get a much nicer finish then. All I'm going to do now is basically come in here, I'll trim the bottom off later, but I'm just going to push this into the indents here so that it glues where I've put glue, and then I'm going to trim it out on this edge here. And the one thing I want to continuously point out, I'm showing you how I'm doing things, and I'm not saying it's the right way, it's just the way I've done it and the way I'm happy to do it when I've got paying customers. And if you do something a completely different way and you're happy with it, that's fine. You know, it's definitely not a how-to video. None of my videos are how-to. They're just how I do it. So I'm basically just going to trim that out. It's amazing how much better the carpet makes it look. What I've got here is some 2.5mm MDF squares and circles. These are going to be glued over the sections at the back just to stop poking fingers pushing these holes in once you straddle. It's just easier than we used to do it with tape, but now we do it with these circles. So we'll put a bit of spray glue on that, stick that in there, then carpet over the top. Weirdly, there's a couple of different sizes. I'm not quite sure what they were thinking, but okay, I'm going to just carpet this corner. The only thing I'm going to do differently to the other part, because we're going to wrap the carpet in here, round here and out here, I'm not going to try and tuck it all into there without any stretch. And because I've got a window in there, I can cut the middle to relieve some pressure, push it in. But the reality is there's going to be another panel going over that, so you actually won't see any of it. So just in case someone thinks, well, you did that different to that window over there, it's being done different for a reason. I'm going to pull this rubber off up to this top point here, and then we'll sort of have a join in this corner. I don't know how much of it I'll film and how much is relevant to film, but basically I'm going to spray up the carpet this side of me first, then spray all the metalwork. I think everything's tucked. I'm leaving this open so that I can cut it out and pull the wires through later if need be. This one's having the switch in it, and this one has got the conduits tucked in, so I can just split the carpet and pull the conduit out. But at least the carpet will be in one piece right up into the corner. Now this side, to be honest with you, I'm probably only going to glue halfway down, because I don't want it to get all tangled up down here, so I'm going to glue to about the halfway point, and then I'll lift it up when it's in place and glue the other half. Sounds like El Nico outside. Coming back from a Tesco run, which means it's Thursday, which means it's bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwich time. Whoop whoop. Hola! Right, that's top half of the carpet glued. Now for the metalwork. So this line is marking roughly where my shower wall is coming to, so I don't really need to glue anything past that point. So now it's time to get this on. I need to delicately put it on and make sure that I've got enough to get in there and around the corner. Always the fun part. So that's almost straight across. Probably want to try and get rid of that. So what I'm doing on this side is basically taking it straight into the corner. So see if I can see that on the camera. Yeah. I'm not worrying about this return at the moment. I know I've got enough there to go around there, so I can see I've got enough. It'll be a pain in the arse if you get to this corner and then find out you haven't got enough to stretch it around. It does happen, but if you cut it the right length, cut about another 20 centimeters more than you think you need. But I'm just going to tuck it into that corner without any stretch and then come around here later. I'll pull this rubber off afterwards. But for the moment, I'm just trying to get a straight glue line across here and into that corner. So that's my beam. That crease developing there. Don't want that to happen. So that's now relatively flat as far as this carpet goes. So then I'm just going to come down this middle pillar. I've just gently touched that. I haven't pushed it. So if I wanted to and needed to, I could pull that off without any grief. But once you've pressed it down, that's the point of no return, really. So the beam is here. I'm just gently touching it into place so that I know I've got it where I want it before I start putting pressure on. So this area here is where I want it to go in without any real creases, because I've got to come around 3 corners and that would be difficult to deal with a crease if I have to. So this is where the old plastic trim tool comes in useful, and I can pull that away and then just gently push that into the corner. So I'm not stretching it into the corner, I'm just pushing it. Tap that level. If I've got my glue line right, then we probably got glue to about here. So yeah, I probably haven't got enough glue, but we can pull that up now. That's sort of glued to this point, and then we'll pull that up afterwards and then glue down the lower part. this carpet here, I could carry on stretching it, but I really want it to be stuck to the side more than I want it to. I don't want it to pull off. So as this is going to be covered with a panel, what I'm going to do is put a relief cut straight through the middle. And then what that will allow me to do is to just sort of stick it down now without worrying about the stretch. If we were doing a window, I'll show you on the next one, but if we're cutting out a window, then to allow us to push that in either side of where the... I'll do it now. There's going to be more insulation. I mean, there's probably an inch and a half of insulation going to go in there, so that's going to totally cover that. But on this side, where the window is, there's going to be a panel that sort of pulls this in later on. So I want this bit, as it comes around and into the reveal, to be as unstretched as I can make it. If I try and push all of this in, then the weak point is going to be here where it's trying to pull back out. But because I've got a window in there, which sort of, I don't know, there to there, what I can do, so I can put a relief cut here. If I don't go past the point where it's meeting the frame, I'm okay. So if I just hack out a bit of a star shape, we see it so many times on conversions where, not our own, where people have stretched carpet into a window area, into a window reveal, and it's just trying to stretch itself back off, you know, within a couple of months. So by pushing this in and just pushing it towards the corner, that is just baggy, and I can press it to the point where the glue makes contact, and now there's no that is under no tension whatsoever. And because we're going to be cutting this out, it doesn't matter that it's, you know, obviously it's not going to meet anymore. So we just carry on around the whole window doing the same thing. Hello!
Any more sanity here than there is at my place?
None at all, mate.
No.
Absolutely fucking none whatsoever.
How are you keeping?
But it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm just going to stick this corner bit in, bring it around and trim it off where the door seal is. So I've got a bit of tape across here, which is just giving me a clean glue line. I don't want my carpet to be right to the bottom in case you get wet and mud and shit on there. So we're going to pull the door seal off, but not take it completely off. So at the moment I'm just going to pull it to that join and then just put a clip on it so it doesn't unpeel itself all the way, which is what will happen next. Almost guarantee that. One very light last scuff or scotch just up to the edge, because that's going to try and unpeel itself as you push the rubber over it, and it just looks shit. Just a quick IPA just to get rid of that dust from the scotching, and now we're just going to glue from the tape line up. Right, that's totally glued. Just going to bring this into this corner. I'm not bothering with any stretch at all now around this. It's just, this one's in the corner. Then I'm just going to roll it around the edge. All I'm making sure that that's tucked flat against the edge that will go inside the rubber trim. And I'm just going to knife that off without taking any paint off or anything like that. I'm just going to run a blade flat against that edge to trim it completely flush. Up in this top corner, we're going to have a join that's probably going to come in and around at this point here. So I'll probably try and bring it just to the sort of top edge of the curve. On the inside of the van, it's going to be completely lost. I'm bringing this around here, just totally flat, trying to make sure there aren't any creases in it, but it's just going to be cut off flush with the edge with a decent brand new razor blade right the way down the edge. The only place where I'm going to have to sort of stretch it a little bit and try and manipulate it to the area that I want is here, where I'm going to do a join. So I'm going to have to come across, cut it as level as I can, and then overlap the center section. You'll see a join out here, and then inside of the van it'll be covered with the overhead lockers. So from there down, I've just laid it flat. From here up, I'm starting to get tension in there now because it's trying to come around a corner. So I have to deal with that. I've cut it off with scissors, and it's the bit that overlaps it that just needs to be, you know, handled. All I'm going to do here is try and come in sort of 2 inches from this hole to there, and I'll try and keep that as my line. But I want the line to run straight across. The one thing I see people doing, look, if you do it your way, that's fine. I look at it, I'm going to say why I think it's a problem, but I see people running a blade into the metalwork to cut this carpet. If you do that, all you're doing is scratching through to the bare metal underneath carpet that might well get some condensation on it at some point. So 5 years down the road, we don't want to see a rusty line. So I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just using scissors. So that's where my join's going to be. And the join will overlap. I'm not going to mess around trying to cut it. It looks a lot neater in my opinion. It looks a lot neater if you overlap it about 1/2 inch either side, because I can cut that nicely. I won't see any glue, and it'll look fine. This bottom edge, all I want to do here is cut it across there in line with my tape, and I'm just going to use a reasonably decent pair of scissors and just give myself a straight cut. So that's cut there. Take the tape off and then stick that down, and I've got a clean line without any glue underneath it, and then the trim in here will sort of meet the carpet, and if we've got any water that pools here, then we won't get it sucking up the carpet. Go through these safety blades like you're going out of fashion. So that's now cut nice and flush, and the rubber can go back on once we've done the join at the top. What I'll probably do is put the rubber on from the bottom, put this back on here, and then I can just pull the top off. With this rubber, if you struggle to get it on without it kinking this back up, if you just bend it back on itself like that and sort of roll it in, then it opens this edge a little bit rather than just putting it flat and trying to bang it. So just, and then we can go back around with a soft mallet or something, or a block of wood, and just tap that flat. Just one tip after you finish carpeting around is to make sure that you go over every single sort of square inch of the carpet and just press it down, because it is a contact adhesive, and whilst it'll stay roughly in contact, or it'll stay attached if you haven't pressed it hard, the contact is never really made properly until you do that. So as long as you do that within, you know, an hour or so, 2 hours of putting it on, then it's not coming off anymore. So just make sure you haven't got any areas where you haven't pressed it in.